Welcome everyone. Let's will start our lesson. Today lesson will go through LO2. During our last lesson, we discussed about LO1. We mentioned what is audit. We had a discussion about assurance, and we discussed about a detail only give, uh, never give the absolute assurance. A detail can give the positive or negative assurance, and never give the absolute assurance because we only relies on the document those were provided as our clients, and we can give assurance accordingly. Okay, so today lesson will go through LO2, learning outcome 2. So please, all available resources online. Uh, Other than that, please, if you want, Windows. So please, if you want to download extra resources, so I had a discussion during our last lesson. We mentioned you can log in on Open Tuition, and if you download Audit and Assurance, which is F8 of ACC exam, so all the key questions and some example. Of course, we are doing assignments, so no exam. So it's a matter of using the sources effectively, adding the reference and source of information. That's quite good. Okay, other than that, this please, you can use the Kaplan resources as well. You just write the keyword like assurance Kaplan. You can find the chapter of the book, which will go through. It's called Kaplan Resources Knowledge Bank. Okay, you've been given the sample assignment brief, unit specification, and today lesson will go through LO2, learning outcome 2. Okay, so please, if you during lessons or after even you have any question, please drop the email anjuman@university.co.uk, and we have a WhatsApp group as well. You can drop us message and we'll try our best to get back to you as soon as possible. Okay, we'll start. So understand the nature and the importance of internal control. Internal control, what is meant by control? Why control? Why we need to be controlled? Any purpose of control? So what sort of control can be? Any example if you like to add? Are you involved in internal audit and control within your own organization? Yes. Internal control. So plan is what we're supposed to do, and control is a corrective action. So we have a control in place. If we have a lot of poor control, we raise the high risk for the organization not achieving its objective. So internal control, we should have a SOP, standard operating procedures, and assurance. Auditors can give the assurance that the control system is appropriate and relevant. So internal audit is also quite good, but in that internal audit need to be effective. They're not supposed to be conflict of interest. The people are quite close to each other. They say, come on, you favor me, I'll favor you, not highlight these things. Think about, the purchase order. Is it same person doing everything? So always think about the segregation of duties. Who's responsible for what? If the same person raised the purchase order, same person invoice, same person making the payment, so you have to think about the process. Is the different people involved? So then, and other, we can look around in internal control, think about, segregation of duties, and we can look around, the people can rotate, they're also good, and different copies of the vouchers and the invoices and the backup system. That's also good. Okay, so not doing business in cash, we're doing more, yes, computerized accounting, banks and links, so we have evidence. Okay, we'll start the lesson. Indicative content, we'll go through component of internal control for both computerized and the manual system. We'll discuss about consideration of the control environment, preventive and effective control and internal audit, and assurance risk. What sort of the risk, can be. We'll look around the risk, inherently risk, the risk control, deduction risk audit can be. Sometimes we're not giving absolute assurance. Of course, I need to never give, but the assurance can be based on and can be risk. So we can look around the legal responsibility, liability method of minimizing the risk. What is the meant by risk? Risk is mean probability. Like the risk of rain, 80%, 90% probability will be rain. So we can look around the risk. If we have the cash, so high risk in the business, it can steal. If the 1% dealing with everything, this mean high risk, can be self-interest. So we can look around. If we have a clear internal control, risk can be minimized. If we have a standard operating procedure, risk can be. So we'll discuss about audit engagement, exercising professional judgment, and that all will be in our discussion. Our discussion will cover these, key indicative content. So under LO2, learning outcome 2, we have, assessment criteria, identify the needs of organization effective. Why we need to identify, discuss the needs of the main area of the business that need to be effectively controlled. So we can look around voting system, we can look around the payroll, we can look around different function of the organization where we need internal control more than others. Both computerize and explain the internal control, evaluate and conclusion drawn, and we can look around the merit criteria, analyze the internal control mitigation risk, what sort of risk. Is it control risk? Is it deduction risk? Is it inherent risk there? Okay, welcome. So internal control is the process of design, implementation and maintained by those charged with the governance, management, others, personnel to provide, the reasonable assurance, both achievement of entity, organization objective. Objective means the end result, what we want to achieve at the end of the activity. With regard to the reliability of the financial reporting, effectiveness, efficiency of operation in compliance with the applicable laws and regulation. That's, we need internal control. Okay, the component of internal control environment, risk assessment. We look the information system, relevant financial reporting, control activities and monitoring. Relevant model, not all the control relevant to audit risk. Assessment, we can look around audit is primarily concerned with those as the part of the management of the risk. We can look around different risks to the financial statement, material misstatement are not following the accounting standards. So always we need to look around these, which we'll go through in a minute. Some of them would highlight during our discussion. So ISA, which is International Standard Assurance, which is audit, and which is we can 315 state, the auditor need to understand the entity internal control. So auditor need to really understand the industry, need to understand the environment, need to understand the internal control system or the culture of the organization. Then of course will be betterly view and review the thing accordingly. So identify the 5 component of internal control, the control environment, entities, the risk assessment process, how they do, information system, control activities, and monitoring the control environment. So control environment include the governance. What is the corporate governance? Like this Barclay Bank CEO being paid £2 million bonus when Barclay Bank not earned a single penny profit. So we need to look around in the governance. Do we have executive, non-executive, all the members, remuneration committees? Though we can look around, that will help, internally well controlled and well managed. So management function of the organization in focus largely the attitudes, awareness of the action of responsibility. So nowadays we use the word responsibility accounting. If you've been given the budget, what you achieved against the budget, what your role and responsibility, and you will be accountable against those. Implementing and monitoring the internal control, element of internal control environment relevant when the details obtained. Understand including the following: communication and enforcement of integrity. What is integrity mean? Honesty. We have 5 professional code of ethics, which will look, those as a details. If you're a member of ACC or any other awarding body, we're supposed to follow those. Ethical values, commitment to competencies, Competencies, capabilities mean what you're supposed to do. You have ability to do, but the competency you can do without any errors. You can do efficiently. If you have experience, you have expertise, you become more competent. So every role is looking role competencies. We can look around the participation by those charged with the governance, management philosophy, the operating style, organization structure, assignment to authorities, responsibility, and human resource policies and practices. Anybody, any question, please? You can carry on asking if you have. Okay, so control environment. We need to be really look around the control system is in place in our organization. Like, think about him. We have a trillion construction company, 75 million pension fund shortfall. So we can ask the question, what was the internal control system? Why this has happened? Why the pension fund being short there? Because the fund should be allocated accordingly, as been deducted and should be invested the money. So these are the questions due to the poor control system in place. And if that was not highlighted in the report, then of course the big materiality. If the 10 pound is a missing, maybe it's not a big amount when the company is a million billion pound worth of the turnover. When the company have the million pound transaction which we not identify, then it raise the question. So integrity, ethical values, commitment, competencies, participation, these, we can look around the philosophy, the operating style, all, organization structure. So risk assessment, reporting properly. How often we do the reports? Once a year, quarterly, audit once. Yes, so we can keeping in view of the law is meeting all the requirements. Like, if you're recruiting somebody as a new employee, what is your reference process? Have you checked the identity? Yes, all the legal requirement you meet. You have a control system in place. Okay, so internal control, information system, control activity. So information system, infrastructure, physical hardware, software, people, procedure, data chain, like, the password policy is what you have in our organization. What you have, what sort of initiative you're taking towards, make sure, and you report if any transaction, material transaction, all record. Policies, procedures to ensure and maintain the are carried out, performance review, how often we do. Yes, we have control system in place, performance review, appraisal system, then what is toward link with the training and the fund allocation. So we can look around physical control, segregation of duty, monitoring control, a process of assess the quality internal. So those company have ISO, International Standardization Organization certificate on quality. So they need to be look around what is the ISO, International Standardization Organization. They come and do audit about the quality. What we are saying, same thing we are doing, and we have a documentary evidence. We can say it's meet the requirement of audit. Yes, what you're saying, we're saying is this product contain this thing. If is the containing, we have a documentary evidence where we bought the material and how we did, and that's meet the requirement. What we are saying, same thing we are doing, and we have a documentary evidence. Okay, so operating intended and modified, as appropriate, internal and function maybe perform this. So we can look around internal control, statutory requirement by law. Yes, you have to be. Directors of the companies are required by law to keep the accounting record, which disclose with the reasonable accuracy affairs of the company and is stated in time. So of course, keeping the record of the company, going as the Company Act 2006 says, so we have to meet those requirements. Walkthrough testing, which is involve, details trace one or more transactions. We can pick, sample. Of course, the details can't do every transaction audit for. We can pick, some, and we can look the process of, and that's, we can look around what is the control system in place. So a detail will be certain the system from the previous year, notes from the discussion of the management and the staff, and ensure the system operate. So we can look around the system is appropriately is working. Control risk. Once the system has been walked through, the editor can maybe assess the control risk. So which we look, the risk assessment in next, slides. It's been referred to the chapter of the book, but we can, of course, we pick, slides from and we can link to. Okay, so 2.2, discuss the needs and the main areas of the business that need to be effective control. So we can look around within our system, what sort of the area. One, we can look around organization segregation of the duty. So who is responsible for what, and we need to be look around physical authorization, approval, arithmetic, and accounting control. That's we need. Transaction need to be. We need to be make sure the legitimate the company authorization approved. Like you're giving £1,000,000 loans to someone. What was the process? Is the accurately being transaction recorded? We have record and meet the requirement. And what control system was? So personnel supervision management control as the human resource include the selection appropriate staff, ensure those staff are work correctly. Management are checking the whole control environment and normally using internal audit. Okay, so APC lists the internal control, which is audit. Okay, it's professional plus, what sort of control. So that's the abbreviation we are using for the control when you're looking segregation. Oh, who is responsible? What sort of response? Oh, physically, is it asset being stored in the warehouse? Is being properly being locked? Is it properly being secured? And authorization, who is authorized it? Who approval? Management, what are the management? Who is the responsible? Management is designing an environment to achieve the organization objective. If your managers, your process is design an environment to achieve the pre-selected objective of the organization. Supervision, yes, how supervise organization, what sort of organization structure, responsibility, role. Arithmetical and accounting records, do we have their personnel? Yes, all being is recorded, who is like some company being found in the people not in this world, they died, not anymore, and their national insurance active in the company systems because for the sake of saving and showing more expenses. Yes, so that's we need to be look around. It shouldn't be happen. Of course, nowadays we are looking more integration with the system gov.uk, and of course, these are things easily highlight. Okay, so we can look around these. Does not necessarily expect original grouping, segregation of duties, authorization, handling the asset, recording the transaction. We can look around the system of the purchase accounting, making purchase, payment, recording. These all depends, what sort of transaction you're looking. So you have to be think about, go through the full and the segregation and the duties and all, need to be. So need to be clearly allocate and appreciate. Okay, do appraisal of physical control or the measures and the procedures to protect, physical asset against the theft or unauthorized access in the use. Using, the safe hold of the cash and valuable document, those are locked. Okay, the check, who is responsible to sign the check to make the payment for suppose the building, dual custody of the valuable asset, high value asset need to be clearly. Yes, periodic inventory check, we check, inventory, what's showing in the system. Actually, we have sometime inventory have two types of, IS2, International Accounting Standard 2, says assets should be recorded at cost or net realizable value, whichever is the lower. So are we meeting those? Yes, inventory, then revaluation, and if the inventory's value decrease, what procedures we have, how we did the asset impairment, how we follow a physical control, the security system and all. Authorization and approval, spending transaction, authorization limit, supervision. Yes, supervision our side and the work, other individual as someone position responsibility being checked. Management control. So control, as we discussed earlier, this means corrective action exercised by the management, top level reviews, activity controls. Yes, who is responsible? We have the every quarter, weekly, monthly, whatever, and the target. Like what you budget, what your actually the difference is your variance. So why this a variance? Variance being explored. Why is it due to the poor lack of information, data information, and knowledge, and that wasn't embedded into the data not being updated. That's, can be a problem in our organization. Organizations control system refer the control provided the structures such as the separation of the organization activities into the department responsibility center. Yes, so we have the which department, what responsibility, clearly division, allocated fund, authorities being given, and we can do audit against. Okay, arithmetic numbers which we can look around, control are provided recording the transaction properly, and not fake transaction in the system. Being able, because very creative accounting, we learn about Enron. Enron is a 3 hours movie on, so it's quite good, to watch if you want to how they Enron, they fiddle their accounts. Yes. So invoices being sending to customer, approve the payment and all, and who was the person responsible. So the details can personal control, personnel control, which we can look around applied, selection and training process, suitable induction training procedures. Those we have a HR department, so we can look around which department and that person, and it was requested to recruit or extra person we recruit. 2.3 describe the component of internal control, manual computerized. We can look around. There are the 5 integrate interrelated component: internal control environmental risk assessment, control activities, information communication, and all. We can we can look at we can look around this internal system component and the control activities and how they control these being tested, and we can look around different types of tests and reporting. So control the basic, look around the substantial of transaction substance, what when this happen. We been look around the invoice, we can look around day book, journal, we have a cash book. So if we have the bank, we have a cash book, bank reconciliation, the vouchers and numbering, those are appropriate, those linked to the, and with the asset, how this can be. So we, of course, nowadays we have a nominal codes in Sage, those most of you working and using different sort of software. So those we can, and trial balance, and then final accounts be prepared according. Computerized account system, which is number of the things, understand about the impact of the computerized. So always good to be, when you do audit and assurance, we need to understand the computerized system, how it's work. Like if you're using zero, so look around, on your dashboard, always showing the transaction. But when you look the back, how it's being, these graphs and other figures being calculated, and always we can tally the balances, calculation, the accurate, those are program, any human errors. So how the internal control system operate, the component of internal control, 3.1 says state, auditor need to understand the entity's internal control, the control environment, risk assessment, information system, control activities and monitoring. And we said control environment, communication, integrity. We can look around who is responsible for what. Yes, so assignment, authorities. So each, the code of conduct, what we have, those are in place. Like, if we're looking HR perspective, the staff handbook, the code of conduct, appraisal system, the national minimum wage, what we advertise, what we like, a few years back, the Tesco advertised the strawberry prices being dropped 50% from 150 to, but they used to charge 80p. So that's, there's been one of the students from Birmingham highlighted these to the trading standard, because advertising not in line with the pricing. So that there is a 5p gap. They said the case went good, 6 million worth of the strawberries the Tesco sold and been fined too. And then Tesco revised this audit process, why this happened. And we can learn from it, and we can look around the risk of, yes. So it can huge impact on the company's reputation. So risk identification, assessment, misstatement, overall, that's we need to be through internal control system. Information, initiate, record, process, report transaction, maintain accountability of asset, liabilities, and equity. So asset, what is meant by asset? Anything you own it is your asset. So if you own the asset, how you generate the asset, where this asset came from. So asset is mean any a resource controlled by entity which will flow the future economics benefit. Maybe asset is outdated. You have, stock inventory window 98 CD. No one is using. Maybe it's cost, is stored in your warehouse because so those we need to be. Liability is a legal obligation by law. You bought something, you have the liability to pay, or you breach the data protection and you have a liability being generated and a high chance of it can be. So which we can look at entities, capital, resolve the incorrect processing, transaction process accounts, transfer information, capture information, all which we can look around under this control activities. So please, authorization, performance review, information processing, physical control, and segregation of duties which we need to be look around. Any question, please, from anyone? We all okay? Couple of you may be dealing day in and out, yes? These things. Application of the control, batch total check, sequence check, match most of the file of transaction record, arithmetical check, range of check, existing the checks. Yes, we can look around the check existing, apply exist, authorization of the transaction entry, exception of the reporting, what we have, how the company generate the reports. Okay. IT, the system software acquisition, program chain maintenance, what procedures we have, the password, door lock, swap the card, like in the payroll, that can be huge loss for the company. The swapping, clock in and clock out, what is the process, so auditors can observe that and give the reviews wherever the deficiencies, so internal control can do and rectify. So healthy IT system should include the application and generate the control procedure. So control exemption, as we ACAS, which is ACCA maps, you can say yes, authorization, claim, purchase, and the cash transfer, computer control, password backup, comparison, budget versus actual, and the variance being highlighted, arithmetical control, recalculation hours and the work and the timesheet, maintain the reviews control, sale, purchase, bank control, account reconciliation, bank sale, purchase ledger control, and purchase ledger is a subsidiary ledger of purchase, which is mean your creditors. So you have to whom you bought it. So those are the credit side. So what about the debit side you purchase? Yes. So always we need to be look around and we do CCTV cameras, physical control, segregation of duties, who was the responsible. Then we have 2.4, which we can look around the evaluation of internal control. Yes, and we can draw the conclusion by encouraging evaluation of the details can determine the extent. Other tests, different type robust system is the internal control reduce the risk. Yes, if we have, let's see, because one bad news in the media, if we have a policy overbooking, but like the United Airlines, they overbook the flight, and one of the doctors supposed to be, they have 5%, 6% people cancel the flight. So but that is not happen, and then they just push the doctor out from the aeroplane, and that's went on the social media that immediate 3% the share prices went down of the company, is £1 million worth of the loss for United Airlines. So we have to look around, if we have a overbooking, what control system you have. So if there no one is a cancellation and it's 100% booking, what is you have alternative contingent plan in place. So we can look around these all are the training, are the system, are the competencies of employees, which we can look around in different scenario. The step involved in the evaluation include determine extent and the type of the control used by the client, determine the control and the details intent to rely on. Based on the first step, to determine the audit procedure should be expanded, reduced, and recommendation can be drawn. Internal control procedures and step used to improve the control environment. Year-end audit. Definition of the process in internal control, we have a different reports of, which is corporate governance reports, can be internal control, the policies and procedures, facilities, like national minimum wage every is in chain, finance act. So what is the procedures we have update with some of legislative control system in place, and we are following those, not missing, otherwise it can be huge risk for the company if the case goes in the quote, yes, so ensure the quality of internal control, external control reporting, ensure the compliance, applicable laws, money laundering, and all others legislation. We can look around the reasonable assurance that organization can meet the objective as an organization, because the mission statement, we treat people like to be treated, but not paying the small farmer after 18 months like a Tesco. Uh, Turnover was 180 million, but shown 220 million. So why is the internal control not, the big figures, which is the materiality that wasn't highlighted? So efficient conduct the business, we need to be that went to into the media. That's mitigate the against the risk, inefficiency, safeguard of the assets, and safeguard procedures. What we have, the revaluation of asset, tangible, intangible, of course, tangible physically we can see, intangible is a reputation. So always good to be preventing and detecting fraud. So before fraud is happen, what control system we have, why we not control it? Other unlawful act, legislation that we can look around these in the control. Completeness and accuracy of the financial record is a complete and accurate. So we can do the total, and we can do the test. Timely prepared financial, yes, it's under the events. We have IES 10, International Accounting Standard 10, events after reporting events. So within 90 days, if anything happened within 90 days after the year end, we can make a necessary adjustment. If we have more than that, within 90 days, we have to publish the information. So we have to look around events, and those should go and the related transactions. Okay, responsibility, internal control in the many small incorporates such as the traders, unlimited in the partnership. Responsibility of the in control lies owners themselves. So we can look around what control, but in the public limited company, the committees we have, corporate governance, ultimately director are the agent of the shareholders, and those are internal control in place, the best the interest of the generic control strategies, which we can look around accounting records. We can look around, those need to be kept, up to date, and revaluation the administration, who is responsible for what, prevent what errors, avoid errors, deduct, if we identify the errors, what stuff we have to record and correct them. Recording the transaction, those need to be recorded, and responsibility in doing correct net audit and reporting responsibility of the channel of communication. And we can look around the checking the delivery notes and all in invoices and inventory records. So each, deduct, we can look around, and we can make the strategy for to effectively control. Okay, so internal control, mandatory or voluntary, discretionary or non-discretionary by law. We have to be maintain the record, like, health and safety record. We need to be maintain the health and safety, fire alarm system and all, and we need financial and non-financial uh, interpretation and the judgment, because otherwise there's a huge risk for, do we have a manual for it, SOPs being set up and those being followed by, and the journal control of application control. Journal control help, to ensure the reliability of the data being used, and data being, of course, nowadays we can integrate, what is happening, new legislation and control system can be updated accordingly. So internal audit and internal control is the internal but independent assurance function, while internal auditors usually implies of the organization they should have operate independently by the management. So we have a detail, no doubt we pay, we can be a separate department, no link with heading internal audit should be the board of directors and audit committee, and some organization enforce independency. Auditor need to be independent. Okay, in internal audit testing, we can look around different types of tests, like the control system, the key risk, we need to be carry on doing, evaluate those and try to be eliminate or putting the risk management. So reputation risk, in financial risk, and inherent risk, these, different types of foreign currency risk, do we have hedging in place, like can we hedge again the foreign currency when we are dealing financial operating information. Compliance, so we have to look around that we are comply with the rules and regulations. Then we can look around, next we have two point M1, which is analyze internal. So different type of risk. Audit risk is the risk that the details. Yes, please. Anybody, any question? Okay, so please, if you have, you can ask, you can stop me. So audit risk is the risk a detailed state the financial statement fairly present when they are not. That's the audit risk. Actually, the financial statement not contain all the information, but a detail saying it's correct. Yeah. So it's audit risk. So risk of the material misstatement inherently the risk the item will be materially misstated due to the nature or the context of. Okay, control risk, the risk that the entity internal system has no prevent or the deduct or the correct material misstatement procedures in place. Deduction risk, the risk that the auditor will not deduct the material misstatement that exists in the financial statements, like asset being and asset is owned by. So assurance engagement in a is we already had in lesson 1 express the conclusion and design the enhance the degree of the confidence through insurance engagement intended user. Reasonable assurance, high level of assurance. Limited assurance is the low level of assurance. That's reasonable assurance can be what is stated negatively. So the editor never give the absolute risk inherently, which we can look around, understand the entity's environment, industries, what we do, objectives, strategies we can. So risk of audit, please, that's we can, as we mentioned earlier, the asset, the advocacy, accounting systems that will help, test of control, substantial procedures, and the test of analytical procedures, those we can use. So material misstatement, all the material information should be materialities means significant. Like I gave you example of 10 pound, and that's not maybe significant in the multi-million pound company, but it's very significant. But if we'll carry on not caring about 10, it can become a material. Okay. Relevant size, nature, and effect of this, if we don't do significant of risk of the fraud indicator, the management incentives, opportunities, all we need to be look around in, and we can give our views. So please, I included some links for you. Those are quite good to explore further. Audit and auditing with some scenarios which we can, and you've been given extra these slides, for the standards of audits and the responsibility, different test of control we can look around, like purchase, daybook, or various others. So those we can link to the in our when we'll do the assignment, we can add some examples for. Any question, please? Any question from anyone? Okay, so today our key focus was internal control. Is the key, is we need to be tested in the segregation of duty is there, who is responsible for what reporting system, and that's which we can look around. Then our details can draw the assurance, is it positive assurance or limited assurance? Yes, but we never gave the absolute assurance. That's all from my end. And the audit risk, which we mentioned, the risk itself, a detail says, nothing highlight in that, because even the financial statement contains some missing information, other values of the asset or others, that can be the problem in, and those need to be highlighted. Okay,
I do have a question.
Sure.
At task 2M1 for merit says analyze how internal controls mitigate risk. What do we have to analyze there? Because it's just that figure, and then says about assurance and other things.
Yeah, so what we'll do, when we'll do the assignment, we can add the example, yes, on the basis of, say, we can analyze these, like, if you're looking the cash book, you're looking any other, yes, so we can analyze those steps, yes, these should be. Or if you're looking the asset, non-current asset register, in non-current asset register mean all the non-current asset, which is plant, machinery, depreciation method, so revaluation of the assets. And IS 16 say property, plant, equipment should be And we need to be look around the depreciation. If we have the consistent depreciation policy, if we are doing straight line, it should be a straight line. Yes. 1 year you're doing straight line, next year you're doing. So it's not representing. So the control system need to be in play that deduct, what is the revaluation asset being impaired because IS 36 and other, some ISs, we can look around the real because the financial statement should be true and fair.
Okay.
If those are not true and fair, it means we can mislead the information to our stakeholders and they can make the wrong decision based on that.
I see.
So that's which we can, and we can include some examples. So I can send you the book, and we can look around some examples. Huh?
Okay, yeah.
Those we can, but when we'll finish, we'll do the assignment discussion, and I'll give you a lot of examples. Huh?
Okay, great. Is there any distinction task in this lesson or no?
It's not this one, but we have few distinction tasks in overall.
Okay,
So
great.
we go to LO3, yes, other LO.
Mm-hmm.
And we can all the assignment according to the scenario. We can, of course, we work toward distinction criteria, yes. And
Yeah.
I'll give you a lot of examples. So it's a matter of picking and just using them. And I'll give you the list of the command verb.
Good.
Yes, like discuss, describe, evaluate. Yes, what is meant by these itself.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, welcome. I'll throw in the chat box as well, and I will download and I'll give you in the next lesson.
Okay, many thanks.
Very welcome. Have a lovely weekend. Thanks for joining.
You too. You too. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Bye.
Bye.